Let's take a look at the chart action for Dogecoin. Okay, so here's what I was looking at in yesterday's video. I was watching this resistance and this resistance. I drew a trend line going down right here. What I was talking about is I want to see the day. I'm on the daily time frame right now, and I wanted to see us close this candle above this trend line. We actually did close the candle, but the other thing that I wanted to see was what was going to happen the next daily candle. We actually got rejected on this daily 180 moving average right here. We came up to that 180 moving average and got rejected and started heading down. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and delete this trend line right here where we don't have to really pay attention to that. I think one of the main things that I'm watching, I'm going to go through these trend lines right here. Let's go ahead and delete them for right now though. But what I'm thinking is I'm still watching this support and this support right here, giving me this uptrend like this. We haven't broke this uptrend going to the downside, but I think if we do, then that will be a bearish signal, and we'll want to look at the previous support levels or the previous bottom. We have a bottom right here. Let's go ahead and set up some horizontal orange lines. We have this bottom down here. Let's go ahead and change this to orange. And we have some other supports. You could argue maybe one right here, one right here, and one right here. These are some levels that might get a bounce, or we might be able to get a bounce on. Do something like this. I mean, I think if we break, so this first one sitting at .138, if we can get a bounce right here, we'll still be above this trend line. But I think if we break this trend line going to the downside, we might be looking at these lower ones. Maybe the bottom one is sitting at .111 and the next one is .119. I was also watching this one at around .131, .130. But like I said, I think if we break the trend line, then we might be looking at these lower ones. In general, I like looking at the previous supports because we've gotten bounces on them in the past, and it's possible that we'll get bounces on them in the future. So like I said, I'm watching this uptrend, and until we break it going to the downside, then I'm kind of wondering if we're going to get a bounce, or I'm still thinking it might be possible to get a bounce on the trend line. Let's go ahead and delete everything. The other thing I was kind of looking at is we had this big uptrend like this. We had an uptrend in general. We got a big pump going to the upside. The other thing I like doing when we have these uptrends and they start pushing down is drawing a Fibonacci retracement tool, or drawing the Fibonacci retracement levels. What we'll do is get the Fibonacci retracement tool over here, drag from the bottom to the top of the trend, and I like watching the 38% level and the 50% level. You could even watch the 61 and the 78. It really just depends on how far you think it's going to go down to. We already came through and went past the 38% level sitting at .153. So the next one is the 50% level at .1449. Let's go ahead and draw an orange horizontal line, something like this, and possibly even at the 61% level since we already crashed through that 38% level. The 61% level is sitting at around .136. It kind of lines up with this previous support right here. I like using these Fibonacci retracement levels because a lot of the times when we start coming down, we'll get bounces on them if you think we're going to continue to head up. Sometimes we get these big runs and we just really need a correction. We just need a correction to come down a little bit, and then we could bounce on some of these levels sometimes. It really just depends on what the fundamentals are and what's really happening with the total crypto market. Like I said, I'm watching this uptrend right here, and it's possible that we come down, hit this one, and then we can get a bounce on this trend line still. If we break below it, then I'll be watching these two levels down here closer to the bottom. And let's go ahead and set these up again, something like this. So I think the places that I'm hoping for a bounce are .145, .136, and if we break the trend line going to the downside, then we could even get more confident on maybe hitting these targets sitting at .111 or .118. In general, I think when the price is moving down, these are the times that we want to look for the bottoms to try to see, so we can try to call the bottom pretty much. We want to try to call the bottom so we can buy it, so we can buy low, and then when it starts going up, we can sell at a higher level, or at least take a little bit of profits off the table. If we go ahead and delete everything, one of the things that I've been looking at is the resistances. We have resistance, 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 resistance. I was watching a couple different trend lines. Let's go ahead and set them up. We had this first one, something like this. This is when I first started getting bullish on Bitcoin, when we broke that going to the upside, Dogecoin. And then we had resistance, resistance. and we had a trend line going down like this. Once we broke this trend line going to the upside, I started targeting these previous resistance levels over here. Let's go ahead and set up the horizontal red lines. We had one at .165 and then another one at around .184. And then we also had some resistances up here sitting at around 19 cents or .191. Let's go ahead and do one more right there. So in general, when we break these trend lines going to the upside, then I start looking at the next one. But I also think these are levels that are good to maybe take a little bit of profits on, if you want to do that. You could also just try to find the bottoms to buy if you're a long-term holder, but in general, sometimes these will give us places that might give us some resistance and we might kind of come back down. If we would have bought right here and sold at this .165 level, we'll go ahead and do a ruler, something like this, and that was around 28% approximately. So like I said, now that we're trending down, we want to try to call the bottom. Is this 50% level going to be the bottom? 61%? Is this trend line going to be the bottom? Or are these previous bottoms down here? That's not for me to say, that's for you to try to call. These levels might be some good places that we might actually find a bounce on. And like I said, I think one of the main things I'm watching is this uptrend. We're still on this uptrend right now. So until we actually break it going to the downside, I'm still kind of hoping that we can maybe get a bounce over here, something like that, and we can continue to head up. In general, the crypto market looks like it's getting a correction right now, so we're just going to have to wait and see what the total market does. That's also why I like watching these Fibonacci retracement levels though. We go up, we have these big runs, and then once we start thinking that we're at the top, we could set up the Fibonacci retracement, and then we could watch these levels for possible bounces. Hopefully we could stay on this uptrend, but if we do, then I'll be looking at these lower levels down here. If we go ahead and delete everything and take a look at the highs and the lows, let's check that out real quick. We got a high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, and now we're coming in to kind of find a low. I think if we break this level right here, we'll be setting a lower low. So we had this low right here and then we had a high. If we go lower than the low, we'll be in a downtrend again. Like I was talking about yesterday, we had this low, low, high, high. We're getting higher highs and low and higher lows. So we are in an uptrend right now. But if we break this low right here and get a lower low, something like this, then it'll be somewhat of a downtrend. Or at least it'll be kind of like the beginning of a downtrend, possibly. That's also why I like watching these trend lines, because it kind of lines up with that low. I mean, if we break the trend, then we'll be kind of setting that lower low. Let's see what happens within the next couple days or the next day or two. Are we gonna break this trend line? It's possible that we just dip down and come back up. What we want to see, what I'm kind of curious is, where is this candle gonna close right now? We have 3 hours and 5 minutes to close it. Are we gonna close above this trend line right here, or are we gonna dip down and close below it? Kind of like yesterday, we had this trend line, something like this, and Dogecoin's kind of tricky. So I mean, you see it go up and then it just comes down, goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. I want to see us break that trend and start getting these higher highs and higher lows, but like I said, it's kind of tricky with the daily candles. We closed the daily candle above that trend line, and then the next candle we just came right back and broke right through it, going to the downside again. So what I'm thinking is we're going to have to wait and see what happens within the next couple days. We're on this uptrend right now. Where are we going to close this candle? Are we going to close it below? I mean, are we going to close this candle above this trend line, or are we going to close it below the trend line? And what's going to happen the next day? Are we going to go further down, or are we just going to come straight back up? Same thing with here. Are we going to close below it and then the next day come right back down? Or the next day, are we going to be able to get another candle above it and maybe bounce on it? These are some of the things that'll kind of show me, are we going to be able to continue to bounce, or are we going to dip down? Or are we going to have these fake outs kind of thing where we go up, close the candle, and then come down? It'd be like if we came down, closed the candle, and then got a fake out and just started pushing back up. Crypto in general is pretty volatile, so it does these things and it's kind of tricky sometimes. One thing that I did notice though is, like I was saying, we have high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. What I noticed is this high, or this high up here, we actually wicked up all the way down up to like .179, is higher than this high over here. So technically we got a high over here and a high over here. This is a higher high. Let's see if that matters or it doesn't. Like I was saying yesterday, what I want to see us do is break out of this big downtrend that we've been in. We have this big downtrend. We're getting higher lows, lower highs and lower lows. Right here was a higher high than this one. So let's see if we can maybe do something like this. These are just some of the things that I'm watching and some of the things that'll kind of give me clues on what's happening. I haven't been trading Dogecoin that much, but I do have some, so I am kind of interested in this chart. It would be nice to see us break this big downtrend and start to continue to head up. If we break this uptrend right here though, that might be a bad sign. Like I said, it might be a bullish signal and we might be looking at this previous bottom or this previous support down here. I like looking at multiple levels because it gives me a way to dollar cost average going to the downside. So instead of just putting all my money on the bottom, I like looking at multiple levels and kind of spacing my positions out. That way, if we hit one of them and start getting a bounce, I'll have one position here. Didn't get to fill the rest of them, but just a way to dollar cost average and maybe to call the bottoms. Like I said, the crypto market is pretty volatile right now, and it does look like things are just getting a correction in general. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. If you're new to technical analysis and wondering what program I'm using, check out this playlist right here. It'll help you follow along with the videos and help you kind of learn more. And if you want to learn some of my trading strategies, check out this video right here. It's about when I buy and sell. Alright, if you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up so I can see you in the next one.